Hi, good afternoon. It is Tuesday, sometime in August in COVID land. I'm Joan Kendig, and I'm going to be talking today. This is Sagging Bookshelves for book lovers, children's and young adult primarily, and which I love. I really do. I don't have the nicest setup here, but I think you can at least see the books, which is a good thing. What is a graphic novel? The actual definition of a graphic novel is a comic book bound. But I find that very misleading. I mean, this isn't just like Archie and Veronica back in the day when I was reading comic books. And I did read comic books. I loved them. It's much more than that. The level of artistry has gone so just off the charts, and the writing is really strong. Stories are strong. It ain't your grandma's. It just ain't your grandma's old comic books, but yet it retains that nomenclature sort of, doesn't it? Anyway, hey, I got a T-shirt that says "Got books?" I do. This is one by Raina Telgemeier, who's one of the really popular ones these days. Kids will read these and love them, which is why I support them so much. First of all, I grew up on comics, loved them. My favorite was Herbie Popnecker, whom very few people have heard of. You can Google him, I'm sure. But I just loved them, and it was easy reading, and the pictures were there for the context clues. But as I said, it has become an art form, so it's much more than just scanning the pages. You really have to look at everything and see how beautiful they really are and how well done. Raina Telgemeier has hooked middle schoolers. They absolutely love her. This is her book, and I love the cover. Couldn't be more simple. We have a smiley face, and the teeth, of course, are wearing braces. This is based on Raina's life when she was going into middle school. In this case, the protagonist, Raina, gets out of the family van and trips and face plants right on the ground. And when she does, of course, there's dental problems to be dealt with. And so when she goes to middle school, she's going to be sporting these very lovely braces. And now, of course, she thinks her life is over, because when you're in middle school, everything is about how you look, isn't it? And how you're seen. So it's a funny book. It's great. All of her books are really, really strong, and they're on the bestseller list as soon as they come out. I wanted to mention that beginning readers is where these graphic novels start these days, which I think is so awesome. First, it was a publisher, at least this is as I remember it, and this is a Toon book, Toon, and this company was put together by Francine Moore, who is the editor of The New Yorker, and her husband, Art Spiegelman, who did the prototypical graphic novel. I'll show you in a minute. And they thought that little kids could use these, and I think they're right. They couldn't be easier. Penny cannot find Benny. Benny, where is Benny? Yo ho ho, hand over the gold. Here he is. I'm brave Benny the pirate. Very, we have big squares, we have big print, we have repetitive language. It's very much along the lines of a beginning reader. But it does have these, little kids know that they're reading a graphic novel, and they love it. They think it's very, very cool. This one is called The Great Pet Escape. I like the art in this very much. This is by Victoria Jameson, and she won a Newbery honor for her book Roller Girl, which I love. I'm so proud of that book. And here, the language, it's a little more dense, but they have the pictures to get them through, and this may actually be more of a transitional book, but at the end of first grade into second maybe. But it's all pets. It's it's got all of that that kids love to read at the very beginnings of things. Just going to throw my books here. I wanted to show you then, like, sort of the next step up. And the next step up is Baby Mouse. Do you know Baby Mouse? This is the brainchild of Jennifer Holm and Matt Holm, brother and sister team. And it's this mouse, and her name's Baby Mouse. And she's assertive, but not aggressive, which is what I like about her. And when the first one came out, they went with this pink background, overlays of then black, gray, and other pinks. And it became the hallmark of these books. This isn't focusing very well, is it? Let's see if I were to push this button, which says focus. Do you think it might actually focus? Wouldn't that be lovely? Yeah, it did. How about that? One win for Joan. There we go. Anyway, this is an ARC, an advanced review copy, so they only show you a few pages of what it'll look like when it's all color. But they're lovely, and these are just funny. And in this one, Baby Mouse is a cupcake tycoon, as most Baby Mouses are. But at one point, Jenny and Matt wanted to change it up a little bit. So it came time for Halloween, and that's orange. I don't know if it's showing up. It looks like yellow on the screen. And it's called Monster Mash. And they went to Random House, their publisher, and said, we want to do this one in orange. And they said, oh no, you have to stay with the pink. The pink is the branding. Kids walk in, they see that in a bookstore, and that's what they want. And they said, no, we should be able to, vary it. And they did. And so we got to see one with orange, and I thought that was a great idea. And that sort of broke the ice for for the publisher to understand that it was a little bit more than just the colors. And then another one that I happen to have here is Baby Mouse, a very Baby Mouse Christmas. Well, that's gotta be in red and green, for heaven's sakes. And so they did, but they did manage to squeeze some pink in there too. But the kids love them. Do you know what's funny about this? Baby Mouse is a little girl. She's, I think, about a second grade age. And yet, I see kids at conferences, little boys, wearing the Baby Mouse shirt. It's a pink shirt, and it says Baby Mouse. And I think, all right, we're not going to get hung up on that crap, are we? I like that very much. Next, I wanted to show you this crazy series. There's an artist out there who I just love. His name is Jarrett Krasaska, and he's done a ton of stuff. I've known him since when his book Baghead came out, a long time ago now. 3 kids ago for him. And I just loved his work. And that was a picture book. I still love it, one of my favorites. And then he decided to try this graphic novel. I don't know which came out first, Baby Mouse or Lunch Lady. I think it was Baby Mouse. And he started doing Lunch Lady. Now, what was peculiar about Lunch Lady is that she's a cafeteria worker. And the cafeteria workers have all these, implements that they use, strainers and, flippers and stuff. And in this, the conceit of this book is that all of those regular kitchen implements are used as superhero powers. That's number 10. The first one, there are 10 in this series, and they are so popular. And by the way, there's a Lunch Lady Day once a year, and kids put up, signs to their lunch ladies in the cafeteria. It's really awesome. This one's Lunch Lady and the Cyborg Substitute. You see, she's doing some sort of karate kick there. She is not gonna lose. This one's called Lunch Lady and the League of Librarians. Ooh. This one's Lunch Lady and the Author Visit Vendetta. That's awesome. All of these things, notice, are all things that have to do with school. And this is where kids live. Except not right now with COVID, but yeah. And it's just so awesome that he thought of all of these things. Lunch Lady and the Summer Camp Shakedown. Oh my, yes. Lunch Lady and the Bake Sale Bandit. It cracks me up that he's thought of all. He's very, very clever and he's just brilliant, I think. Lunch Lady and the Field Trip Fiasco. Well, of course there's a field trip. Come on. This is number 7, Lunch Lady and the Mutant Mathletes. Isn't that funny? By the way, she has a helper in the cafeteria, you know, the one who wears a hairnet and all, has a big mole, and she is her sidekick, and she also has those superpowers. She's able to use those same implements. Lunch Lady and the Picture Day Peril. Oh, remember Picture Day. Good heavens. Lunch Lady and the Video Game Villain. Isn't that something? And then the last one. Oh, here's her superhero friend, you know, who's in the cafeteria too. And she's got some sort of nunchuck or something in the pineapple she's going to use to get these kids in line. This one's called Lunch Lady and the School-Wide Scuffle. I think he should do more because they're so popular, and he does have 3 children to put through college. So he's just a wonderful, wonderful guy. More on him later. Well, before I move off him entirely, this is a Star Wars series that was first done. Who was it? Jeffrey Brown, yeah. And they're graphic novels, and they're Star Wars Jedi Academy. And so when Jeffrey Brown tired of it, or wanted to move on to other things, he bequeathed it to Jared, and Jared has done a fabulous job. So here we have this, the Star Wars Jedi Academy. The Force oversleeps. I mean, it's just such puns and turns on the whole Star Wars thing, and there's a bunch of them in that series. I just don't happen to have them. All right, let me go here. Captain Underpants, parents used to say to me, do you think it's okay for them to read? I have no problem with the word underpants. I think haven't done an official academic study, but I'm pretty sure it's the funniest word in children's books. And these aren't exactly like we see graphic novels in panels and so on. But it was the start, really, of an illustrated comic series. And I love this title, Captain Underpants and the Perilous Plot of Professor Poopy Pants. I mean, you can't beat that for a good title. I used to tell the parents when I was a children's librarian, encourage it. I mean, I as an educator, and all of the people I worked with believed the same thing at our school. If I can get a kid reading something, even Professor Poopy Pants here, I have a shot at moving them into harder and better things. I can turn them into a reader. And I thank Dave Pilkey for that. He's a very nice guy, by the way. And, their heads aren't going to explode because this isn't The Call of the Wild or something like that. This is what they love to read. And what we do know about readers, after they get out of that beginning reader stage, the very thing they need is practice, practice, practice. And these kind of books provide that. I think it's great. So there. A few years back, C.C. Bell, who's a Virginian, who is almost entirely deaf, and she's such a nice person. She did this book called El Deafo, and it shows for the first time what it's like to be a young child who cannot hear their classmates. You know, it affects everything, and I hadn't really thought about that. You can't play soccer very well because aren't you listening to your teammates saying, go get it, do this, do that? Those kind of things she couldn't pick up on. She can read lips, and she has a hearing aid, but anyway, this is just a fabulous book, and this is what she wore in school. And the whole book is in full color, by the way. Again, this is one of the arcs. It's called The Phonic Ear. And she brought it to a conference, and she asked me to stand up and put it on so that people could see it. So I actually got to wear it. And, you know, now we have these small little things that hang around children's necks, and the teacher has something going in their ear. And so it's kind of not too noticeable here. It's like, oh, my God. And then in the pictures, you'll see that Cece always wore it under her T-shirt. She kind of looked like a pregnant second grader, but it's just brilliant. She had meningitis, I believe it was, and she was hearing until age 3 or 4. It's a wonderful, wonderful book. She didn't even know when she came out of the illness that she couldn't hear. She just said, things are really quiet, you know. And but then she kind of was annoyed that she never got the little girl in the bed next to her always got ice cream. She couldn't figure out why she didn't get me. Well, she didn't get me because she didn't respond to the nurse. The nurse didn't realize she was deaf. So it's just such a good book. It's really serves to educate other kids about the children they encounter with disabilities. And I'm telling you what, Cece was not letting that best her. She has gone on to become a really well-known children's book author. El Defo won all kinds of awards, as I think it should have. And she is, I believe, working on a sequel to it. So we'll look forward to that, that's for sure. Okay, I just read one today that I really liked. This is, see, you're seeing my arms. I actually fell down a hill today. Like, yeah, I have rubber bones, apparently. This is one, it's a YA book. It is so good. I wish I had handy, and I can't believe I didn't bring it to the table here. And that is Gene Luen Yang. He was the National Ambassador for Children's Literature a few years back. He has won a MacArthur Genius Grant, which is the cash prize on that, I was just looking it up today, is $625,000 over 5 years. He really is a genius. His first book that came out, oh gosh, I don't even know when now, it's been a while, and it just kind of took the world by surprise. Gene is of Chinese descent, and his book is called American Born Chinese. And the book is really interwoven with 3 separate strands. One is describing a Chinese myth of the monkey boy. Is that it? Monkey King? Monkey King, I think. Which is like a fable or something that we would have in our culture. And then the other one is the kid, who's Gene, you know, trying to fit in to American school and culture. When the Chinese came over, like many cultures, they wanted very much to retain their identity as Chinese or Puerto Rican or whatever it is. But of course the kids just want to fit in. They want to get the Levi's and the shirts and all that stuff. And the third part of it, he's managing that, like pulling off this whole thing. Yeah, I'm just like everybody else here, you know. And then he gets word that his cousin from China is coming, and that's totally going to blow his cover. It was so well done, so well illustrated, and so multiculturally inclusive. It was so good, and it won all kinds of awards. It won it was the first graphic novel to win the Printz Award, PRINTZ, which is for young adults. This is his latest one. Now, I will preface this by saying I know nothing about sports. This one's about basketball. I will admit I do know what a basketball looks like, but I have never played basketball. I'm not interested in it in the slightest. I kind of put off reading it. Isn't that silly? It's stunning. It's so good. Gene was looking around for what will I write about next. At the time for 17 years he was a math and computer teacher at a private high school outside of San Francisco, and he loved it. I mean, if you go on his website, you'll actually find. For when he had to get a substitute, he did the lesson plans in a graphic novel format. It's awesome. Anyway, he is a genius. He was like me, didn't know much about sports, didn't play, but they had a really good team that year, and he kept hearing everyone talk about it, and he thought, well, maybe I should look into this. So he went and met with the coach and talked to students and stuff, and he followed them through this very big year they had. I fell in love with it. I don't think I'm ever going to become a aficionado of basketball, but this book is so layered. It's about, there are some Chinese kids playing. There are very urban African American kids, very neighborhoodish, multicultural kids all the way. It's so darn good. It's just about so many things, but it's about understanding that he thought that that the whole idea to win was not to make mistakes, but of course in the real world it's mistakes that teach us, and that's part of what comes across in this book. It is just unbelievably good. I can't tell you enough. It's just, I think it's it's done on really beautiful paper and everything. Oh, and he also manages to put in here, this is a kid, Jeevan, and he's Roman Catholic Croatian. So because he is, and because Gene wants to introduce all these characters, he goes and gives you a little bit of history of these people, and it's that much, a page and a half, but he does it for each one, which, who could fit that in so effortlessly? He really effortlessly, probably about killed him to do it, but he did a fabulous job. So, it's an absolutely great book, brand new and hot off the shelves. This is the one I was talking about. I was on the Newbery the year this book won, and I can tell you from the time it first crossed my desk, I wanted this to win. You do get those mindsets, you don't always get what you want, but I thought it was fabulous. Rolla Girl is by Victoria Jameson. It won a Newbery honor, and it's about a young girl who she's an only child. Mom's a single mom, but she has these weekly, bi-weekly, whatever she calls them, enlightenment evenings, where she lets Astrid bring a friend, and they'll go to the symphony, they'll go to an art show, it's an enlightenment thing. Well, one time, Astrid says, I want to go to the roller derby. Well, is that culture? My mother would tell you no. But it is, and it's got its own culture, like many kind of groups do. This one was great. What I loved about it is that Astrid convinces her friend, and I think her name was Jessica, to come along, and then after they see it, Astrid's all over it. She can't wait to try it out. She's into it. But Jessica's mildly okay about it. Jessica focuses on ballet, and Astrid's sick of that. So they decide to do a roller derby camp in the summer. Jessica does not like it at all, but Astrid does. But in a book that, it had it been written differently, Astrid would have gone in there. She'd have been the best at it, She wasn't. Most of us aren't, you know. She did her best. She liked it. Wasn't a whole lot of fun with the falls and everything you take in Derby, but she was determined to do it, and it was a story too about these two very good friends who were suddenly realizing that there are different paths and different interests, and friendships change, and it was just spectacular. I absolutely loved this book. She's really, really great. And I'll reach over here. When you are on a committee, often the whoever the people are will do something, get you a special gift or something. And in this case, Victoria did roll a girl, and she said thank you, and then put a little heart there. And so I have a little Victoria Jameson in my house, which I just cherish. I think that's really lovely. Another author said to me at the night that these were given out. She looked at me stricken because she didn't know about this. And I said, just tell everyone you're going to knit a pot holder. She never did, by the way. I'm just saying. Anyway, check out Victoria Jameson. She's awesome. All right. Now, this will end up Jared's part. Jared, saw himself as a picture book artist, and he really did conquer that. He really became great at that. Then he did Lunch Lady and that kind of thing, and the Star Wars thing. But Jared actually had a very interesting story, and I will just tell you the briefest bit of it, because it's in here. He was born to a drug-addicted mother, methadone, heroin, that kind of thing. And she was neglectful because of the drugs, and this was in not Northampton, it's where he is now, what's the name of that town now? I'll think of it. Anyway, there was great family support, and they began worrying because his mother was getting arrested so much, and children's service would come in. One time they came in and he was just screaming in his crib, and there was no one in the house whatsoever. So the grandfather and the grandmother, who were both pieces of work, Shirley and Joe, and they decided that they had to take Jared and get custody of him, or the state would get him. And not only did they take him, but here are these blue-collar folks, good to the bone, and they could see that he loved art, and so Worcester, Mass. Is where they were, and there was an art museum there, which I had visited. In fact, I fell down the front steps of that place, too. That was a good one. Didn't hurt anything either there. Anyway, he got to go to Saturday lessons there, and it was like opening the world to him. And this kid could have been lost with a big L, and so he wrote this book. It's his biography. It's so moving, so well done, so well illustrated. It's unbelievably good. It won a lot of prizes. It was up for the National Book Award and a number of other things. And it's called Hey Kiddo, because that's what Joe and Shirley used to call him. How I Lost My Mother, Found My Father, and Dealt with Family Addiction. His father, he didn't know until he was 16 or 17. That was only because he reached out, not the dad. And, what a mess, and he, as I said, could have been lost. He could have been just in such tough straits, but they saved him. And I just think about that gift they gave him. And by the way, there are all kinds of little things you'll find in here, like things he drew as a kid, but also you'll see, you can't see it on this camera very well, but here's the wallpaper that was in their house. There, you can see it better on this page. I mean, it's just all this attention to detail. I recommend it. And by the way, the audiobook was stupendous, and it won the best audio of the year. So I'm pretty darn proud of him. Gosh, there's just so many good ones. I'm going to have to get this down to just a few. Do you remember Eleanor and Eleanor and Park, it was by Rainbow Rowell. And, is that right? Yeah, I think, anyway. And this one's great. This is sort of like that, early high school kind of age, and it's called Pumpkinheads. And it's a graphic novel about these kids who, this is their last season working the pumpkin festival, and all the shenanigans that go on behind the scenes. It was really, I thought, very entertaining. This one I wanted to show you just because it's just, they most often have this sort of trim size, but they can be a little different. This one, you know Raymond Briggs. Do you remember The Snowman? That wonderful book. He's a British author. I think he's still alive. And he decided to write a story of his mother and father, Ethel and Ernest, a true story. And it's about them during World War II. It's really good if you want to get a sense of what life was like in England during World War II. It's really spot on. It's really a wonderful, wonderful book. I really liked it. Really thought he was great. Another thing that we're seeing a lot of are by, historical stories. This one won the Young Adult Nonfiction Award. The Unwanted, Stories of the Syrian Refugees, written and illustrated by Don Brown. And, oh my gosh, it's, of course, it's a hot mess there. And this gives you an idea of the story, where it came from, how it built up, and what happened. As here's some in the ocean. Tried to catch my wife and children in my arms, but one by one they drowned. Thousands died. So it gives you just a sense of what's behind the newspaper headings. I liked that a lot for that. Don Brown also did Fever Year, The Killer Flu of 1918. Which I read before COVID, and actually was very interesting in light of what's come to pass. Okay, a couple more. I liked this one a lot. It's called The Silence of Our Friends. The civil rights struggle was never black and white. As John Lewis, the great John Lewis would say, you get into trouble, good trouble, necessary trouble. And we don't stand on the sidelines while our friends are being attacked. And this is the story of a newspaper journalist who simply couldn't turn his eyes away from what his African-American counterpart was enduring. This one is by Liz Prince. Oh, that other one was by Mark Long and et al. This is by Liz Prince. It's a fun book. We have all kinds of books, LGBTQ, all that stuff, which is awesome. But I'd not seen one about tomboys, which I'm a tomboy. I was a tomboy, and I don't go out and play cowboys too much anymore. But this, really is great because it's not an either or. It's almost not a sexual thing or gender thing. It's just, it doesn't change your orientation. It's just that you like to do things that boys do. And I thought dresses were just, what are they for? I mean, come on. Can't climb very well in them. And, the tomboy would have been me to a T. It was great. So I do like that one. This one I would offer some of my students at JMU to read. And they used to get to choose, and they chose this one so much because Jeffrey Dahmer is of interest to them, and this was, it's called My Friend Dahmer. It became a movie. It's a graphic novel by Durf Backdurf, and he went to high school with Jeffrey Dahmer, and tells, how all the teachers were interviewed after, and they said, couldn't believe He had no problems in high school, and this guy's like, are you for real? First of all, he was drunk 24/7. It's a really, really well done one. Not sensationalized. He said, if you want to read a book that's going to, get you just all the nitty gritty about the eating of humans and stuff, he said, this isn't for you. So, but it is about someone's life falling to pieces. I liked this a lot. It's called Human Body Theater. What a great way to let kids explore what it is their bodies do. It's really quite good, and it's I learned stuff here. It's great. I hope most of you know Persepolis. Persepolis is by Marjane Satrapi, and this is about a young girl who, when Iranian war broke out, revolution there, her parents, who were well-to-do, shipped her right off to Paris to get her out of the trouble. And so that's an unusual story. What is also unusual is that even though that whole issue hadn't been settled, after she graduated from, I think it was high school, went back to Iran to see what she could do. It's really quite good, all done in black and white, which I think is a very good choice. I learned so much reading these things. Okay, this one is the second to the last, so don't give up on me. This one is by David Small. David Small has done a lot of children's picture books, like Imogen's Antlers, and just, there are a ton of them, with his wife, something about a gardener or something, I don't know. Anyway, there's a bunch of them, and he's a very nice guy. And this one, I got an email from John Sheska, who's a friend, and he said, you got to read Stitches. And that's why I got it. I bought this one. This is a memoir. And, it tells you I was 6. And this is what happened to him. But his mother had no sense of love or warmth, or it was awful. I mean, she was so cold. She was like a refrigerator mom. And his father was a radiologist. And David Small's older than I am. He's in his 70s. And back then, they thought radiation was the cat's pajamas, as they say. They really did try putting it in toothpaste, and they put it on watch dials. And I mean, the everything Marie Curie did was used on that level too, and it was very damaging, of course. But this was still David used to get colds and laryngitis a lot. And so his father, every time he did, rather than give him, NyQuil, they took him down and irradiated him. And he eventually ended up with cancer because of all of that. He had the screwiest childhood. He actually had a grandmother that he would sometimes be sent to stay with, to give his mother a breather, of course. And his grandmother made sure Grandpa was in the house, locked the doors, and set the house on fire. That's a tweak away from normal, yeah, don't you think? I mean, there were so many things. One day, David, as a small child, comes back from school, and his mother's in bed with a woman. I mean, these are all things that back in the 50s would have shocked the heck out of him. Anyway, he lost one of his vocal cords, and so he used to have a little Volkswagen Bug, and he wrote about how he just drove all the time screaming at the top of his lungs to try and get whatever was left of that vocal cord and this other one he had to resonate and to be able to talk. He does talk, by the way. He talks softly, but I think that's part of his nature. And but I didn't know. I was sitting next to him at a luncheon, and I thought, does he talk? And, you don't want to put yourself in that. But he started talking to me, and he was lovely. Couldn't have been better. This was unbelievably wild. And the last one I'll share with you is one everyone should know, I think. And this one it could have been the Pulitzer or something. I mean, it was really that good. This is 2 books that were put together, Mouse 1 and Mouse 2. You can see sort of a German sense to the spelling of mouse. And this is Art Spiegelman, and he grew up in a home where Mom and Dad had both survived concentration camps. You don't just turn the page and move on, you know? I mean, it changed everything about how they approached life, and of course, that was handed down to Art, and he couldn't take it. It was too much. And so he did these 2 books, and they're amazing. It's just really and truly. There's the first one. There's Mouse 2. This is Mouse, and it's a survivor's tale. And they really just very harsh. I mean, imagine, living through that. And then the second one, Mouse, Survivor's Tale, and Here My Troubles Began. The first one has a subtitle of My Father Bleeds History. They could find no joy in life because it had been just stricken from erased from their memories. It was really, really quite something. I recommend graphic novels so much. I read 3 in the last 2 days, and that was really time well spent. I can't get enough of them. I really recommend it. So, go out and read, and please use these in school. Any high school teacher studying World War II should use Mouse. Psychology books, Stitches would be great for a college kid, and the Dahmer one, and just all of these. They're all so good. So, I mean, there's plenty out there that's junk, but there's really extraordinary ones here for you to read. Click follow if you're enjoying these at all, or tell others about it, and I will keep on. It's enjoyable for me, and I think I'm giving something back during COVID. It was a lot of work, and I just want that hard work to be used by people. So please enjoy, and I will talk to you sometime next week. Thank you, everyone. Stay safe. Wear a mask.